This is TWiT. So you have the three cameras.
Three cameras and the LiDAR.
And the LiDAR, but you don't have the one thing that the Pro Max has that no other iPhone 12 has is a bigger sensor and optical image stabilization inside the sensor shift. So we'll reserve that conversation. That should really give you amazing low light, but we'll reserve that conversation for a few weeks out when we get, I think we're both going to get, sounds like you're going to get the iPhone 12 Pro Max as well.
I think I'm going to turn this baby in for the iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Is that why you want the big sensor, or you just want the big screen?
Bigger, yeah. Because
biggest screen Apple's ever made.
Exactly. This one's even bigger, which is awesome. And the camera system is interesting to me, especially because I don't know if you know this, but right now I am talking to you through an iPhone 11, not an iPhone 11s, but an iPhone 11.
You use the iPhone as a camera.
Yes.
It looks great.
Right. And if you could see it directly from the camera, as in not through internet, it's even clearer. It's clear, it's crisp, it's beautiful. And so when I record video that gets sent, so for Hands on iOS, for example, it's crisp and it's good. And so I'm really excited about the new camera system and using that on occasion as well as a camera for the different stuff that I do.
Nice.
Look, LiDAR as an improvement to AR, augmented reality, is one thing, and it's fine. But the big place where LiDAR is going to rock everyone's socks is through the ability to autofocus in all sorts of light. We talked about this a little bit last time, that when Apple and when we tend to talk about low light photography, everybody kind of thinks photography taken at night or photography taken, in a haunted house or something like that. But really, low light photography is kind of the photos that most people are taking every day, because they're taking photos inside their homes with maybe an overhead light or maybe some living room, a floor lamp and a table lamp. But those could still be considered low light.
Low light is everything you do that's not outside in the sun, really.
Right.
Let's be honest about it.
Right. Because most of us don't have studio lighting to actually bring that, normal studio style lighting to a low light situation. So you are going to get this benefit in the photos that you're taking. Every photo
you take.
Exactly. And so we talked, in the past about LiDAR, but we'll quickly explain. It essentially is measuring the amount of time that it takes for light to reflect off of a surface. And so by looking, and I'll show you right here on the camera, that's this little dot here. Whoops, I'm going farther away from it. This little dot here, it looks out and it says, okay, I know that there's light there. How long does it take for that light to hit me again? When it hits, it can tell by the time that it takes how far away that item is. So if you can imagine, regardless of whether you've got a very dark photo or a very bright one, it can tell how close or how far that is from the camera and then use that to focus itself. So you're going to get crisper photos. You're going to get autofocus happening faster, which means that in situations where things are, moving quickly, you'll be able to capture that photo. That makes it helpful for me because my two dogs are not what is the term? Photogenic in the sense, they're photogenic in the sense that they're gorgeous and amazing and I love them, but they're not photogenic in the sense that they don't sit still for very long.
They keep moving.
And so this has been nice. Yeah, exactly. And I've actually noticed that I've noticed a difference with the LiDAR photography. I took this photo. This was taken in the dead of night.
What? So this is for those listening, it's a picture of a sunflower. Mm-hmm. So you mean it was dark out when you took that?
I mean that, yes.
Was there any illumination at all? Because it looks like there's some illumination.
There was some illumination. It was 9:45 at night. And there was some illumination, but far less than what you can see here on this photo. There was basically a light off in the distance. And
yeah, because it looks like you have a point light source on that because of the shadows
precisely.
and so forth. Yeah.
And check out this was a 3-second exposure. So you could see that was a car on the highway.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting trails from the car's lights. That's amazing. And you're hand holding that?
I'm hand holding this.
So this is one of the promises of the Max, is that you'd be able to do 2 or 3 second exposures handheld because of the optical image stabilization. But the way the iPhone's doing this with multiple shots and then picking the clear parts of the shot, this is really good. Either that or you have an extraordinarily steady hand.
Well, if you zoom in, you'll notice that it's a little fuzzy.
Okay.
So the closer you get, the more you can tell. But from a distance, I love this really weird sort of Tron style exposure in the background. I think that's fun. And
the trails from the car's lights. Yeah.
Yeah. For the level of darkness that it was out there at like a little bit past 9:45 at night, I thought this photo was pretty awesome that it was able to capture this.
That's really great.
So that's kind of what I wanted to use to test it, to do that. And that is because part of that is because of LiDAR, to be able to focus properly. But then, yes, even in this camera that has image stabilization on the lens, not on the sensor, with the 12 Pro, you still can take these long exposure photos that I think turn out quite well. And then there's also 10-bit HDR with Dolby Vision recording. So I did a silly video, let's see, showing some dye going into a cup. And I took this with the sunlight beaming in on the side. And what's interesting with this is I imported this into Final Cut Pro. And if you try to import this as a standard dynamic range video, it will clip. Like almost all of the highlights in this are clipped. Almost all of the shadows in this are clipped. And so you actually have to import it in a special library. And you can see there I zoomed in with the telephoto lens because it does HDR recording on all 3 of the lenses, which is just incredible. And I brought this in.
You mean macro telephoto with all 3 of the lenses? I don't understand.
Sorry, I said telephoto. I meant HDR with all 3 of the lenses.
Okay, good.
Dolby Vision is able to be done on all 3 of the camera lenses.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess it's just software. That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah, so I thought that was neat. And then also,
you're not seeing that, and nor in fact am I seeing it in HDR. But I'm going to take your word for it and that's one of the things to say about this is the iPhone itself is HDR. It's that XDR display they're telling you. So it'll look great on your iPhone. Mm-hmm. It'll look crappy anywhere that doesn't have not crappy. You won't see HDR effects anywhere that doesn't support HDR. But if you're playing it back on YouTube on a 4K HDR display, so it's kind of interesting because it'll look best on your iPhone, I think.
Yeah, and you can
or someone else's iPhone.
Where you can AirPlay HDR content to a television that supports it. So I was able to take that clip, AirPlay it to my 4K Apple TV.
That's another thing. You have to have a 4K television. Apple TV. You can't use one of the older Apple TVs.
Right.
Wow.
And then, of course, on the 16-inch MacBook Pro screen, I launched Final Cut Pro. You have to create a special library that's just for HDR content, which was kind of interesting. Otherwise, it's really fascinating to see, and I should make a little video that shows kind of the separation between the two, because one is super clipped and the other one has all of that content in there and can show it off and display it.
And did you use iMovie? Because they updated iMovie to support HDR.
I was going to say that iMovie is updated. You can now import that HDR content right there. And yeah, I don't know. I've been having fun with this camera system.
I can't wait to play with that. Yeah. I just got a GoPro Hero 9, and I'm thinking, I guess I don't really need that now. I'm going to have an iPhone 12 Pro Max. Really nice, really nice.